To start question 2, it says, given the discrete distributions for fixed cost, unit cost, and demand for a product with probabilities shown on the tables below. So this table's right here. So this one for fixed cost, unit cost, and demand. Use the random numbers given for each variable to conduct a sampling experiment to generate 10 profit estimates. So we're this 10 right here. Assuming that the company sells everything and it's produced and that the price of the product is set to $21.19 per unit. So the price that they have for this product is going to be $21.19, right, per unit. So we're going to put it here so it's easier for us to go ahead and reference it. Let me pull this a little bit bigger. Okay. It says calculate the mean, the minimum, maximum, and standard deviation of the 10 profit estimates, right? So since we have to go ahead and calculate this right here for the profit, then we need to figure out fixed cost, unit cost, and demand. And for that, we're going to have to go ahead and deal with these tables right here on the top. So the first thing that I would do is, well, first of all, we put the price aside. So it's easier for me to go ahead back and reference to the cell. Then we're going to figure out the profit. So what do we know about profit, right? So the profit is going to be the price, which is this one right here. And I'm going to go ahead and lock it, Command T, because I'm in a Mac. So it's going to be the price times, right, the demand. So whatever I sell, if I sell this many times the 21.19, that's the profit I'm getting. Now, that is my revenue. So what do I have to do after that? I'm going to have to take out all of the costs related to selling the product, making the product, right? So I'm going to close parentheses and then I'm going to do minus. Minus what? So we're going to do the unit cost, right? This means every unit costs this much to be made. So the unit cost, and then we're going to have to multiply again by the demand. Why? Because we don't know. If I sell 500, then it's the 500 units that I sell times the unit cost. That's going to be my cost for those 500 units. And then I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to add the fixed cost. So fixed cost, I do not multiply by the demand because fixed costs are costs that are fixed. No matter what, you're still going to pay that. Let's say electricity, you know, stuff like that, that's fixed. It doesn't matter how many units you produce. That is your fixed cost for all of them. I'm going to go ahead and close parentheses and I'm going to hit enter. Okay, it shows 0 since I don't have any of these values yet. So I'm going to go ahead and double click here. You can double click and it'll fill out the all to the bottom of the limit, or you can go ahead and scroll it, drag it down. It'll do the same thing. And again, it's referenced back to my E10, which would be this one right here. So if I go this, it's referencing to this one because I locked the cell out, right? So, okay. So now to figure out the fixed cost, unit cost, and demand, it's all depending on probability. So how do we do about this? So we're going to do a little table. It's going to be lower bound. Then we're going to do upper bound. And then we're going to do fixed costs, right? What do I do? Fixed costs, upper bound, lower bound? Because if we look at the top on the table, I put it too much. If we look at this table right here, it's giving me the probability and to the fixed cost, right? So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. So Command C, let me do here, Command V, and then here, instead of fixed cost, we're going to do unit cost. You know what? Let me go ahead and move this around a little. Let me see. Oh, no. Let me do Command X to cut it in there. Yeah. So I think it's going to be better. So in here, instead of fixed cost, we're going to go ahead and do unit cost. Right? And then, again, I'm going to Command C, and then I'll do it here. Command V. And then in here, instead of unit cost, it's going to be what? Demand, right? So for this right here, how do we fix it? For the first time that we're the first thing that we're gonna do is copy these values right here. So this is pretty straightforward. Command C, and then I'm gonna go to here, Command V, So we have the value. So let's go for the next one. So we're not copying the probability, we're copying the values that they're giving us. Command C. And then for unit cost, Command V. Let's go here, demand, and then Command V, right? And so now how do we do the probability with the upper bound, lower bound? Lower bounds, the first one is always going to start with that 0. All probabilities is going to equal to 100, right? So in this case, it's going to equal to 1. So if we get the 1 at the end, then we should be good. So the first upper bound. So the first upper bound is always going to be equal to the first probability, right? Corresponding to the fixed cost of 5,500. It had the probability of 0.3. So this is going to be equal to this right here, right? So my next lower bound is going to be equal to this upper bound, right? So we're going to start in 0, and then it's from 0 to 0.3. Then this one is going to start 0.3 till, and here's when we go, and we're going to do equal to this number right here plus the next probability, which is this one right here. And if you see that I'm referencing cells, it's because if I go here and then I scroll it down, we're going to get, yes, the values. And then at the end, we're going to get 1, which it had to be equal to 1, or probabilities are going to be equal to 1. So now that my table is done, I'm going to go ahead and just put it like that so it's easier for me to see. Now we're going to go ahead in this one. We're going to go a little fast in this one. So this is going to be equal to 0.13. This is going to be equal to this number right here. Then next to it, so it's going to be this one, right? So it's going to be this one plus the second probability, enter. Then I'm going to select the 2, so it carries it down, and then I'm going to scroll it down, equal to 1. Perfect. So I'll put it here, square, okay? Same thing here, equal to the first probability, then we're going to hit enter. This one is going to be equal to, which this probability right here, enter. So this one is the one that we have to only use the formula. So it's going to be this probability plus the next probability, right? The one that we have here corresponding. We're going to select the 2, and then we're going to go ahead and drag it down for 2 more spaces. We have probability, the last probability limit is going to be 1. So that indicates that we were hopefully somewhat right. All right. So now for a fixed cost, what are we going to do? We're going to use a VLOOKUP function. What are we going to look up? We're going to look up this random number in this table right here and determine what is our fixed cost. So I'm going to do equal VLOOKUP. Lookup table. So we're going to go ahead and look up this number right here. That's what we're looking up. And which table rate. And this table down here, right? So we're going to look at that table. Now, when it says cool index number, which column are we looking at? We're looking in column 3, right? Because we're going to get the fixed cost. And then for the last one, we want to do an approximate match, right? Because those numbers are not on my table, are in between. I'm looking for the numbers in between from 0 to 0.3. All of those numbers in between those two numbers are going to correspond to 5,500 and so on and so forth. So I'm going to do approximate match, and then I'm going to hit enter. All right. So you see this one, 0.26, is between 0 and 0.3, so that's why it's 5,500. So I'm going to go ahead and drag it down. Oh, I see what I did. All right, so for the table, I have to do Command T, and there you go. Look up on the table, because when I scroll all the way down, it was moving the table. So if I hit enter, and now if I go down here, there we go. Now we get the numbers, right? So that was my mistake. I wasn't anchoring the table array. So here we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to do a VLOOKUP function. I'm going to look up this value, right? And this table right here. So I'm going to scroll down, Command T, so we make it permanent. So it doesn't matter if we scroll it down, that's not gonna move. Where are we gonna scroll? Where are we gonna look at for the value? In column 3, right, where it says unit cost. and then we're gonna look at for the approximate match, right? And then I'm gonna hit enter. Hopefully this time, when I scroll all the way down, I'm not gonna have an error. So what this means is for this unit right here, it takes me $4.50 to make it. And then it's $5,500 on my unit cost, on my fixed cost. Okay, so now let's look at the demand. So the demand, we're gonna use the same formula that we have used for the VLOOKUP. We're gonna look at this number right here, and where? In this table right here. And then I'm gonna anchor, okay. Then it's gonna be on the third column, and then I'm gonna do an approximate match. And then I'm gonna hit enter. Now my demand was 500, you see? From this to this, my probability is 500 on my demand, right? So we have it here. Now we should have all of these numbers fill out. What do they mean? The profit of me, selling at 21.19 with this random probabilities, this is my fixed cost, this is gonna be my unit cost times my demand, right? So you can also click in here and okay, it's a little slow. All right, so after I have that, we're just gonna go ahead and do this, which is what we did in the last exercise. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this right here. This is the average. Now this is maximum, max, right? We wanna look at the maximum profit in this sample. Sorry, the computer is a little slow. We're going to look at the maximum and the sample. Then we're going to go ahead and look at the minimum and the sample of 10. And then we're going to look at the standard deviation. Again, standard deviation with sample, because we're dealing with a sample of the population, or in this case of this product. And then we're going to hit enter. We should have our numbers correct. So let's go back and check in the answer tab. So we're going to look at that's question 1. Question 2, we have 100%. That's for question number 2. And that's the end of the video.